Hi, Denny Johnson. This is a response to a question posted on the RAID International Facebook group. This question was posted by Prakash from Australia. Well, my friend, you've posted an interesting question. You asked me to discuss the experience of feeling excluded from a social group or network. This is a profoundly personal and also universal experience. All of us, whether we wish to admit it or not, experience this form of exclusion or separation. Separation is the primary experience that is part of our incarnation. This specific form of being here has to do with the individualization of the soul. That's why we're here. This individualization produces the opportunity to experience through separation the increase of self-awareness. As we develop this sensitivity to our self-awareness, we pass through a series of stages about what this is like. Separation is an ongoing experience for everyone. And everybody does something to try and compensate or adapt to or produce a facade about this separation. The first experience of this separation is how we do our best to become an individual within our own families. We have mother, father, we have brothers and sisters perhaps, but we struggle to produce an individual awareness, an individual identity, because in reality we are individual souls. And we begin to experience that through this process of gradually accepting the responsibility that we are individual. And there's something very pure, something very unique, something very special in being a discrete individual soul. My soul is different from your soul. Our souls are different from every other soul in creation. There are many people who try to compensate for this by saying, "Oh, we're all one. We're all God." Well, the reality is no, we are not all one, and no, we are not all God. God created individual souls with the experience through separation to realize the capacity to choose through our free will, to utilize our individuality in such a way that we become sensitive to and responsible for every decision that we make. So, we go through this experience of grief and through separation. Grief is at the very bottom of this. Grief is a feeling of our own sense of separation, which in reality ultimately becomes an illusion later because we realize, even though we might feel alone, in reality we're actually never alone. We have spirits around us all the time. We have a spirit guide, we have a spirit guardian, we sometimes have a half a dozen other spirits around us for a variety of reasons, and we're actually never alone, but we experience this feeling of being alone. We deal with this aloneness in our own family. We deal with this aloneness every time we have a relationship. Because the reality is we move from this family dynamics, we move into another level of relationship with people outside of our family. So we take this aloneness and separation that we feel And we now begin to take our own world out and attempt to do something with it. Meaning, we develop friends or communication with other people. At each stage of life, from being a child under 16, there's a different social dynamic about whether we're included with our friends. There's another social dynamic very strong between 16 and 32, which is a socially driven time period, whether we're going to be included in the social dynamic group on that level. Later, between 32 and 48, there's oftentimes a family dynamic beginning, a professional group that we'd like to be part of and we're not in some form. And so we're constantly testing how we feel about ourselves by being involved in different groups. It's not easy to feel socially excluded from a group. The vast, vast majority of people often do something to overcome this. We all do. For example, I have my cell phones sitting right here next to me. 2 years ago, I didn't even have a cell phone. But now I can't go very far without it because somebody might be sending me a message. So I stay very close, can't leave the house without it, whatever, because I don't want to lose my touch because I would be a little bit more separated. Wow. How many people use the cell phone or the internet or something else as a distraction to their own sense of feeling excluded or alone? Facebook, for example, is just a social network for people to feel emotionally involved in other people's lives so they don't feel so alone. Some people, first thing they do in the morning is turn their computer on, look at the messages, relate to it all day long. Last thing they do is check it at night. Sometimes they get up in the middle of the night and they check it, because somewhere inside of us we really don't like this experience of feeling alone. We'll do almost anything from loud music to sex or drugs, or watching lots of television just so we don't feel alone. My own mother, bless her sweet soul, she's departed, she would leave the television on 24 hours a day just because it provided a sense of connection. People talking in the background. We all do something. We all find some way. Other people produce numerous relationships, either friend or sexual or otherwise. Some people produce families just so they don't quite feel so alone. Do we feel alone? Yes, we do. Are we excluded? Yes, we are. We're excluded all the time. We may seek to go out and find one significant relationship. We'd like to have that special relationship with our soulmate, only to find that we can't easily find it, or we're not sure the one we're with is the right one. Maybe we're in a relationship and we're fantasizing about the possibility of the one you left behind, or the one that might come next, or you can be in bed with your mate, friend, partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, and you feel alone. Wondering about maybe that other person was there for me, but I didn't do it. Are we part of a social group? Yes. Can we feel alone, like there's some reason why there's a belonging here? Yes. Can we actually do this? Can we actually learn to give and receive love while also feeling lonely and obsessed or addictive? Wow. How do we have genuine relationships with anyone without in some way or another, you give me this, I'll give you that, you know, how am I going to control your reactions of this or that, don't say this, don't do that, don't talk to that person, talk to me, oh, don't control me, don't get too close. Well, we do all kinds of strange things to avoid the inner grief of our own separation. My suggestion is, feel it. If you're sitting down and you feel alone, feel it. Ask to feel more. Because through the experience of feeling that interpersonal grief about being alone in the various magnitudes of groups, we begin to learn something. The smallest magnitude, the family. The next magnitude, friends and community. The next magnitude, really good friends and really personal experiences. The next magnitude, the ecological order of all things. Am I in touch with the essence of all living things, or am I not? If I feel out of touch with nature, I can also feel alone or excluded. Then, of course, there's that treacherous one way up there, which has to do, am I part of a spiritual group? Am I part of this religion or part of that religion? What spiritual group am I part of? Am I included? Am I ostracized? Am I disconnected? What is this experience that I have about souls, other souls? What is my relationship to other souls? Not just the souls that we see in our daily life, but with the many billions of other souls who are around us all the time, looking to develop a healthier relationship with somebody so that they don't feel quite so alone. Feel excluded? Yes. We're all excluded for a particular reason. To develop our own capacity to feel. Our own interior integrity. To be our own personal experience of feelings about our own contribution to life. A passion, a life purpose. How to go into the world and experience what that's like with justice and harmony and equilibrium. How to go there and operate in truth without treachery or betrayal or manipulation or deceit. Wow. Good luck. How do we involve ourselves with being involved in loving relationships without feeling lost? All of us feel a little bit lonely at times. If we're really honest with ourselves, we feel that. One day we don't feel it at all. But right now, the cauldron of how we develop our individuality has to do with this feeling of feeling excluded or separated. So to you, my friend, I would suggest this. It's only a suggestion. When you have this feeling of feeling excluded, pause, breathe, ask. Show me all of this feeling until you experience what I experienced myself, which is this deep feeling of grief and what I do to try and compensate for it. Sit right in that feeling. Do not be afraid to feel all of it, because the true experience of feeling all of it brings us just slightly closer to the awareness of what our soul is. Depression, sadness, even alcoholism, drug addiction, they are the reflection of unresolved sadness and grief. Feel that sadness and grief, we can be individuals in the world. Because the truth is, we will be individual souls for eternity. We'll never be an amalgamation of all the souls put into a giant bowl of oatmeal with cream and maple syrup on top. No, we will be individual souls forever. Enjoy this opportunity to feel excluded. When it comes up, feel it. This is my best suggestion for the moment, because that's what I'm doing with myself. When the time comes I feel something a little slightly different, perhaps I'll answer this question in a different way. So, Prakash from Australia, my friend, thank you for the question.